Hey, everybody. I'm Matt.
I'm Deanna.
And this is Chasing Balance. And today's episode is called Don't Believe Everything You Think. So this episode is a little bit different. You know, we keep on talking about all of our other episodes are about kids and these ungrateful children that we have. So this is kind of going along a different line of the topic of chasing balance, right? Looking at more so our thinking, our thought process, and our mental health. Now, I want to introduce everybody to a book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. And this book is by Joseph Nugent. And I don't know if you could see it on there, but
I've seen people do this.
If you're listening to this podcast, we are actually showing it on the video. You can see our video on YouTube. It is Why Your Thinking is the Beginning and Ending of Suffering. So I deal with mental health issues. I have for about 5 years now. So I'm always looking for either online, influencers or, on YouTube or books that will help me try to break this overthinking process of anxiety. So, one of the things that, we overthink or we have self-doubt about, like I remember, just to give an example is when I got hired at the home builder. I had a background of marketing. I had a background of selling brand new construction homes, and I was hired on as a marketing manager for this home building company, right? And I remember after I got the job, I wasn't even excited, even though I got a job, the pay was great, the location was close, and I wasn't excited because I had this self-doubt. I had like this imposter syndrome, like, I'm not going to be good enough for it. So one of the key things in this book is, it's this thought-provoking question or idea is that what if the key to happiness isn't fixing yourself, but realizing that you were never broken in the first place?
Well, it's a thinker. It
is a thinker. And that's a lot of what this book is. And one of the first things that talks about, overthinking and kind of suffering in your own mind is that they have this analogy of the two arrows. It's the two arrows that are within any bad thing that happens to you or unforeseen thing that happens to you. And the first arrow is pain, and that's the one that hits you. The second arrow is suffering.
Okay.
Now, that first arrow, when it hits you, we have no control over.
Right, yeah.
Right? Death in a family, loss of a job.
Yeah.
But
it's
that's
unexpected and it impacts.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that second arrow that hits you is suffering. And it is up to you to find a way to change that mindset from suffering.
Okay. So you can't necessarily control what happens, but you can control your reaction.
Exactly.
Okay.
So death of a family member, I know that one's tough.
Right. Yeah.
However, looking at, if you lose your job, yes, it sucks. You didn't see that coming. It hit you. You can either wallow.
Yeah.
Right. Or you can say, well, I didn't like that job anyways, or that was a good job. I learned from that job. I'm going to pick myself up. I know somebody else is going to want me.
Right. Yeah. I'm valuable.
Right.
I'm marketable.
Exactly. Let's get on Indeed and start seeing what's out there. Let's brush off my resume.
Yeah.
Or
maybe it's
let's take a week off.
Exactly.
And relax.
Explore.
Right.
Find out what you actually want to do.
So when you face a setback, it's really like you hit that first arrow hits you. That's a setback. The second arrow is suffering. And that reacts basically how the way we react to that second arrow is how it determines our experience.
Okay.
Becoming aware of that second arrow and consciously choosing a different response than what we normally do, which is depression.
Okay.
Kind of self-pitying ourselves. Woe is me.
Or maybe if you do the reverse, like if you just kind of bury it down, pretend like it doesn't exist.
Right.
Maybe you do the reverse and actually go through it, go through the motions.
Talk about it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Once again, we are talking about a book called Don't Believe Everything You Think. Why Your Thinking is the Beginning and End of Suffering. Here it is on the video. Now you can see it now. Anybody that's listening to our podcast, feel free to watch our videos on YouTube. The next thing I want to talk about is the illusion of not being enough. So the path to self-actualization isn't about improving ourselves because we're not enough. It's about letting go of the illusion that we weren't already enough. Right? Like how society and conditioning make us believe that we need fixing.
Right.
Once again, going back to social media.
Yeah.
Having these phones, devices in our face all the time. Seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Seeing what other people have that we don't have.
Yeah, it can definitely damper your inner thought and your perception of what the value of what you already have.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing that, covers all bases.
Right.
It covers all types of people.
We have to shift from a mindset of what we lack to one of accepting what we have and what we can bring to the table, offer.
Okay.
Right? So we have to get rid of this illusion of not being enough. The whole overview of this book is that we need to stop thinking and just take our thoughts and go with our thoughts, right?
Oh, so we need to stop analyzing.
Exactly.
And just have our initial trigger reaction.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And I know it's hard to break because even as children, we're taught, think before you talk, think before you act, before you offend somebody.
Well, that's just to make it so you aren't an asshole.
Well, it doesn't work for me because I'm still an asshole. I overthink and I'm still an asshole.
Yeah, but you're an asshole in
you have no
the
excuse
best
for me.
way.
So diving deeper into the thought versus thinking, the author Joseph Nugent goes into how thoughts are neutral observations. They're raw material from understanding the world. That's it. Okay. And thinking is the judgment and analysis and over-processing of those thoughts.
Of the raw material. Okay.
Like you have a friend.
Yeah.
Do
I?
You do. You have a lot more friends than I do. You have a friend that was reaching out to you just saying that she wanted to get fit, right?
Okay.
And she was worried that something bad would happen if she ran too far out of her neighborhood, right? She had that thought process of going and fixing, her physical wellness.
Yeah.
Wanting to do this great thing that popped into her mind, this thought of being physically fit.
Yeah.
And then overthought, overanalyzed, and talked herself out of it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And I've done that too.
Well, she didn't, in fairness, she didn't talk herself out of it. She put restrictions.
Right. So
she made a workaround.
Right. Not exceeding.
Right. Yeah.
But what she wanted to do. Right.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing. So like ever since I started having my anxiety, my head issues, I have started carrying my phone with me when I go on long runs. Right. I used to go on 12-mile runs, not bring a phone, not bring a water bottle because I knew that I was perfectly
disappear
fine.
into the woods.
Just go. Yeah. I would just leave. And now I take my phone with me, and if it's longer than, 4 or 5 miles, I'll have water as well. I don't know if that's just me being smart, but I overanalyze the situation. I overthink what could happen to me, even while I'm lacing up my shoes. Like, what is this run ahead of me going to do?
Okay.
Yeah. So the thoughts are neutral observations. I want to go on a run. Boom. That's it. You want to go on a run, you're going to get active, you're going to get,
Yeah.
physically fit, and your wellness is going to be better. Then you start thinking, and that thinking is the judgment, the analysis, and overprocessing of these thoughts. Right? Do I need to bring a
Yeah.
phone? Do I need to bring my water? What if something happens? Where should I run? Right?
Right.
Should I not run on this road because it's too busy? What time is it? Is the traffic too bad right here? Will I have enough time to get back? Will I have to do this? And you're filling up your brain with all this kind of anxiety where you should just have your thought and just go for it. Thoughts, and this is a huge thing, a huge quote from the book.
I feel like it tiptoes between like anxiety and your just ability to be prepared. Because if you take the same type of concept and be like, okay, well, I'm just going to head up north. And then it's like, okay, well, what if it's really cold? Okay, I'm going to need to pack, snow pants and boots. All right, well, what if it's really hot? And then you're just prepared instead of getting in the car and just leaving.
No, I get it. And a thought is having that first initial thing of, I'm going to go up north. And preparing is the normal person's, process of getting ready. It's not the overthinking, the should I be leaving right now? Should I be doing this? What if something happens at work? What if there's an accident?
So it's then the doubt.
It's the doubt within that.
The doubt and the excuses. Right. Okay.
That kind of talk yourself
I'm
out of it. The key insight for it, to kind of like just lay it out all on the line there, is that thoughts create and thinking destroys.
Okay.
The energy drain of overthinking is what holds us back. So like what you said about going up north, going on a trip, let's be prepared for it. Sure, that's fine. But then you have the anxiety of, people that are like in my thought process, what if there's an accident? What if there's this? What if there's too much traffic? What if I don't get there on time? What if the house doesn't have heat? What am I going to do? Right? Maybe I should just stay home. And then you end up talking yourself out of it, or you have crazy anxiety driving up there the whole time or going on your run. If you think that you're going to have a mental or health issue on your run, so that's all you're going to be thinking about. So thinking is the root cause of suffering. And I'm going to read a few things out of this book.
Okay. So
he gives a great example revolving around a coffee shop, right? That thought is not reality, yet it is through thought that our realities are created. Which means that we each live our own lives and we all have our own perception of the world. And each person's perception is vastly different of the world, right? Yeah. He says, you could be sitting in a coffee shop having an existential crisis, completely stressed out of your mind about how you have no idea what you are doing with your life.
Coffee is not a good choice for that situation.
Well, at the same time, the person next to you is happily enjoying their freshly brewed drink and peacefully people watching. You're both in the same coffee shop.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Smelling the same thing, surrounded by the same people, but how the world looks to each of you couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
Right. So many of us go through that same thing, just in different locations.
Okay.
We have to go through different emotions in the same location. Thinking is that anxiety. Thinking is that person that's having that breakdown in the coffee shop, right? Reality is what is happening right now. And unfortunately, not all of us, especially myself, do not live in reality. Reality is the thought.
So it's basically like living in the moment.
Exactly. That's exactly
enjoying
right.
It. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Reality is what's happening right now. And I'm quoting the book. It is the objective circumstance that is occurring without any meaning or judgment attached to it. So when we are not attached to our reality, and in the thought, and we are thinking, that is when we come detached from reality.
That's when we remove ourselves.
Right.
And then we start analyzing, overthinking, and stress or anxiety starts to kick in.
Yep. And this happens to me all the time. I could be at a football game, grocery store, anything. And I think of all the things that can go wrong instead of actually being in the moment. Right?
Yeah.
So he comes up in the book with this method of how to stop overthinking. And it's called the pause method.
Okay.
So the pause method, it breaks it down just like how you spell it, Pause. So the first one is pause and take a deep breath to calm down.
Okay.
That might be the easiest thing on here. A is ask yourself, is this thinking making me feel the way I want? Because a lot of our thinking is what is driving, especially people with anxiety, is driving you to have those horrible thoughts or that horrible feeling or that feeling of that sickness in your stomach. The next one is you. Understand that you have the choice to stop and let go of those thoughts. Try to bring yourself back to being present. S, say and repeat a mantra. For example, thinking is the root cause of suffering. And last but not least is E, experience your emotions fully without judgment or resentment. So if you're having a panic attack,
okay,
feel that. Don't try to escape it. You know, if you're having, even if it's a good thing, if you're happy, feel those emotions. Don't try to escape it.
Okay.
So that is the pause method. You pause, you take a deep breath. A, you ask yourself, is this thinking making me feel the way I want? You understand that you have the choice to stop and let go. S, say and repeat a mantra. For example, thinking is the root of this suffering. And E, experience your emotions fully without judgment.
So have you tried this?
I have tried it the day after I read the book.
Yeah.
This book is a very good, quick read.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is going to be one of those books that I'm going to have to go back to.
Yeah. Brush up.
The biggest thing in this book is that coffee shop example. Like that just hit me just so hard.
Yeah.
You know, you can be on vacation and there could be a family just having the time of your family could be having the time of their life.
Right.
And you are freaking out because something is just not right. Whether it's overthinking, food, exercise, sleep, something's just not right. And that coffee shop example, like there are a lot, I've read other anxiety books, and most of them want you to come to their fucking seminar and pay them more money after you already bought like $75 worth of their fucking books, right? This guy, Joseph Nugent, he understands it. Like I feel like he was talking to me and that he's been through it. And that coffee shop example is just, it's amazing. We don't live, most people with anxiety, myself, don't live in reality. Don't live in the thought. We live in thinking. So now one of the topics also in this book he talks about is, well, how can you succeed without thinking, right?
Yeah.
How can you do your job? How can you reach your goals without thinking? Overthinking.
Yeah.
And the main point there is your goals need to come from inspiration and not desperation.
Okay.
So desperation-driven goals are fear-based, seeking validation, right? Or security.
Okay. That makes sense.
Inspiration-driven goals are intuition-led, fulfilling, and natural. Like that thought will be natural to your being.
Okay.
Where if you're trying to be the next, I don't know, YouTube star, if that's not what is natural or inspiration driven. And it's just a desperation goal because you want to seek that fame that's more fear-based or seeking validation type of goal.
So we're supposed to be going more towards the inspirational driven goals.
Right.
And away from those fear ones.
Yeah. So it's like basically when you look at it, if you can't tell whether it's desperation or inspirational goals, you look at it as ask yourself, if I had infinite money, I had no fear and didn't need recognition, what would I do or create?
Oh, okay.
Right. So that would be a inspiration driven goal that is not going to get you into this overthinking process or overthinking mind state, right? A desperation mind state of how to achieve something. If you had infinite money, no fear, and didn't need recognition, what would I do or create?
I would grow a farm. I would live on a farm. I would be surrounded by animals. I would not talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And I would make coffee. I would just make coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like something that I should aspire to do.
The farm sounds nice. I think I would go, if I had infinite money, no fear, didn't need recognition, what would I do or create? I would probably try to work on setting some type of goal for running.
Okay.
Right. Like a Guinness record or something.
Ooh, like country to country?
Like I'm old as shit, but I don't know if I could do it. And then probably also go back and work on music again.
Ooh, okay.
So.
Well, at least you'd be able to financially support us, since I don't want to talk to anybody and
you can
be
sell
around
your crops. Like a rap about your crops.
That is like putting a lot of pressure on the fact that I would be successful in that.
That's true.
You
kill everything you touch.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm surprised our humans are still alive.
We think they are. They're at school.
Right.
So.
Oh God.
That was a bad joke. All right, so moving on.
We live in America.
So following intuition and letting go. The intuition, that gut feeling, the inner knowledge or unexplainable pull towards something. Like that is the inspiration-driven goal. Following your intuition and that unexplainable pull towards something that you're passionate about. And why do we not listen to our intuition? Because of fear, logic, and unfortunately, life's conditioning to tell us not to listen to our intuition.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Be more reasonable. Right? Don't listen to your intuition. Be more reasonable. Let's overthink this. Let's overanalyze this if it's the right thing.
Or open up step outside the box.
Right.
Open up your mind.
Right.
Explore this, even though everything in your body is telling you no.
Exactly. No. And the key question to that is, am I making this decision to feel safe or feel free?
Okay.
And that happens with me. Vacations, going to the kids' games or doing something that's extra outside of my normal routine. Am I making this decision to feel safe or feel free? And typically, most of the time, it's to feel safe. I know that if I'm in my house, I'm not going to typically have any anxiety.
Or if you do, you're in a safe place.
Exactly. Yeah. So the true transformation comes from letting go.
So to not allow yourself to be stuck in that safety zone.
Yeah.
And to always have that free aspect or free thought process.
Feeling free, letting go of the thinking, following your thoughts, following your intuition. Being free, just kind of like even when I was reading this book, and I don't know if I answered your question when you said, do I try to do this pause method?
Yeah, you did. You said that you tried to do it right when you read it.
Right. So I tried to do it right when I read it.
Okay.
However, this is going to be a practice that people are just going to keep on having to come back to it too.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I like, physical books instead of, e-readers or something like that, because it's right there. You can highlight it and all that stuff, and you can come back to it physically. But I tried to think of this, and us doing this podcast will also help me remember it as well. So the transformation is letting go, letting yourself know that you can be free, letting go of the overthinking, having a thought, and just going for it, right? And you will achieve goals, and your life will be bigger, brighter, better, because it will happen naturally once we let go of that thinking.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that transition, the current state that you're in sucks, and then that transition is going to be hard, but
Right.
the end result will be beneficial.
Right. And then you need to recognize when you have shifted.
Right.
Right? You have to see the work that you've put in. You'll see that there's more ease. There's less resistance and deeper trust in life and in yourself.
And then eventually, I imagine the goal is to not even need these steps because everything just comes naturally,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's like,
I wasn't born with anxiety.
No.
I went 30 years
Right.
without having anxiety.
And then you met me.
Yeah. And then, 5 years ago, just everything started messing with me. And now I have to learn new strategies. I'm reading more material to, figure out how to retrain my brain to get out of that one bad day that I had that's caused these, 5 years of not the best days. So really any takeaway from this is to start living in the moment. Think of that coffee shop analogy. Suffering comes from our thoughts, not reality.
Mm-hmm.
We are already enough. We don't need to fix ourselves. Thoughts are neutral. Thinking is what creates suffering. One of the quotes in the book was, and I'm ad-libbing here, is, overthinking has never brought me to happiness.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Overthinking does not bring happiness into your life.
No.
I've never thought myself into being happy.
No. Happiness doesn't need any convincing.
Right.
It just happens.
So
it's the fear that creeps in and it steals everything.
Exactly. The overthinking, the fear. Thoughts are neutral. Thoughts of wanting to do something, go on vacation, go up north, go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking is what creates suffering. The pause method can help. Stop overthinking. If you want to get this book, listen, I'm not getting any kickbacks on this. I don't think Deanna is either.
No. I mean, to be completely honest, I didn't read this because there's no sex in it. That's the only books that I read.
Sex or warlords or
yes, there's no magic.
Dragons. Yeah.
And I don't read books that help me become a better person. I try to escape the type of person that I am. within
your fantasy books.
Yes. So yes, I mean, kudos to you for trying to improve everything. And
it's a work in progress. That's for sure. I don't think that you're going to be able to read this one and just be an expert at it.
No.
Right?
No. And I mean, in my case, anxiety, I do get anxiety, but it passes very quickly.
Yeah.
And mostly my anxiety comes from things that I do have control over.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm able to kind of structure because I have to organize things. And, once I get through it, it's done and over with.
Right.
A lot of like my mental health issues come from the way I handle situations. And I've come to kind of analyze the way, like, why is that my reaction?
Yeah.
And where did that come from? And,
your gut.
No, it's like, why am I such a people pleaser?
Yeah.
Why do I go that? Why is that my initial response? And those are the types of things that I need to work on. However, I don't think I'm in the right mindset to work on those things. And I think that really plays a lot into it. Like, you have to be ready to make the change,
right?
And you have to be ready to put in the work, or the work isn't going to stick,
right?
And in your situation, it's something that you've been dealing with for 5 years. You know that it wasn't like that before. So you're obviously ready to put in the work and to try to make that change.
Oh, I've been ready.
I know.
Since 5 years ago.
Yes. It wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
Like, if given the opportunity for it to be gone 5 years ago, I know that you would have.
Right. Continuing the recap. We did suffering comes from our thoughts, not reality. We are already enough. We don't need to fix ourselves. Thoughts are neutral, and thinking is what creates suffering. The pause method can help stop overthinking. And once again, it's in this book. Don't believe everything you think. The best goals come from inspiration, not desperation. And following intuition leads to true freedom. If you are an overthinker, if you have anxiety, I invite you to try that pause method. The book's fairly cheap. Got it on Amazon. Don't Believe Everything You Think by Joseph Nugent. Let me know what's one thought you've been holding on to that you're ready to let go of. What have you been overthinking? Whether it's a vacation, a job change, what's something, if you'd like to share with us, what's something that's really been making you overthink, kind of anxiety driven, and let us know.
That's a good question.
I've dealt with this for, once again, 5 years, and I'll be opening up more about this stuff on different podcasts that we do, different shows that we do. So yeah, this was a little bit of a change, kind of doing a book review here, helping with chasing balance as far as the mental overthinking, anxiety, mind aspect goes. If you have any ideas or topics for us to talk about, or if there's any other great books like this that you would suggest,
Matt will read them.
Yeah, I'd be happy to read them.
If there's any smutty books, you can send them my way.
Yeah, send those to Deanna. We are on YouTube, so you can catch this whole entire show on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the cover of the book on there. Our shows come out every Thursday morning. We are now on TikTok and getting a bunch of views, which is great. And we are on all of the listening platforms, such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. We greatly appreciate you guys listening. Once again, I'm Matt.
I'm Deanna.
And this is Chasing Balance.
Real life parenting, one conversation at a time.
We'll see you guys later.
Bye.